I am Chris.
And I'm Matt.
Welcome to Roleplay Chat.
And welcome to behind the GM screen of the previous episode of the Blood Betrayal Campaign Diary.
That's called The Rise of a Crimson Skull.
I realized that we didn't even say that.
Yeah.
We spent, honestly, too long trying to come up with that title because we're like, oh, we're going to say it in the episode. We didn't even say it, so we have to say it here. The Rise of a Crimson Sun. Is that what we decided?
Yep. So, hi guys.
Yeah, welcome.
So we're going to talk about our opinions about the game, and maybe we'll touch a little bit on this season as a whole, but mostly about this game. All right, the first thing I would like to talk about is the fact that there's a lot of coincidence between them, the players trying to reach a certain location and having that location being the site of a ritual, and just happen to stumble on the location where they got captured. So I was really worried about how the players would see all of these perfectly placed events in their progression. So how did you feel about it? How did you experience it?
I think players, at least I, can sometimes I come to expect these things, right? Like it just felt like a combat where there were interesting things happening. And up until this point in the game, I think we got lucky because, we found the dead body of the guard in the library, and we managed to, solve the riddle on the map. It kind of just felt like another moment where either we did the right thing or your game mastering style at this point, like sometimes you punish us, sometimes you give us a bone and you give us a cool moment. To me, that's just how it felt.
I think that's the valid point. The thing where you just happen to experience different things in the story that I didn't even plan to put in front of you, but you just happen to be at the right place at the right time. But this one's the one that I controlled and I was going to put in front of you. So that's why I was kind of worried about it, that you took it, like that you perceived it, like that you noticed it.
I think we would have, or at least we would have noticed it more. It would have been more obvious if there were like obvious delays, like if when we fought the troll, someone got hurt and we spent the night healing, and like we had there been obstacles, there were, but had there been things that actually hindered our progression to the point where it would have been unreasonable for us to actually make it there on time, that's when I would have been like, okay, this is weird. It felt natural enough for us to be there just in time to save them.
For me, when I planned those things, it's once you found the place where they got captured, I kind of had like, okay, we start the timer. If you would have rested for 2 days, they would have been dead.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have just like waited. But once you have the information, I wouldn't have like, if let's say you rested 2 days before reaching the ambush site, the with the fire and finding the pendant, then this was on pause until you reach that point. Then I started the timer. Then you have time
to the ritual.
To the ritual.
I know usually I ask you a question at this point, Chris, but I think you had something else that you wanted to talk about.
It was the first time I felt that the player really stopped and planned for an encounter. When the rats in the sewers, you like rushed in, most of the combat was rushed in or reaction. That was the first time I saw you plan. And the thing with the river and the distraction and sending Randall, it was really well planned. And I believe I left when you guys planned, not because you asked me, not because I like to keep that as a surprise for me. So if I had to go get a beer or go to the bathroom, that's when I do it.
Yeah.
And I was very pleasantly surprised of like a very intricate and well planned encounter, and you delivered on it. So what happened that led you guys to plan for this encounter?
We're just amazing players.
Yeah.
No. I think what it was, part of it was because of the setup, right? Obviously, there were other encounters where there were a number of variables for us to consider, like in the sewers with the rats and the book and all that. But in this instance, there were like it felt like we had the upper hand for one. We had the high ground. We noticed the beastmen before they noticed us. So this was our chance. Let's see what we can do, kind of. So it gave us this. The setup was good, and it allowed us to like clearly take this opportunity to plan. The other thing that I think kind of went through at least my head was like, okay, there's an objective here, not just kill the beastmen, save those people. And when there's an objective like that, players I think, tend to try to come up with a way to get to that objective. And to be frank, we didn't spend a lot of time coming up with this plan, but it happened very naturally. Okay, there's people. How are we going to stop them? Randall, like the player who plays Randall, proposed, "Oh, I'm going to sneak around. I'm good in the woods." Okay, good. You do that. Okay, next is going to be Ungram. You're good at charging in. You can hold your ground. Why don't you make a distraction? Okay, good. Diedrich, you'll take the high ground and zap creatures in the water if people enter the water. Okay, cool. Ludolf, you're going to go in with Ungram, give him some backup, etc., etc. So it happened very smoothly. It was because the environment we found ourselves in felt like it encouraged that kind of planning. And I'm not sure if that was done on purpose. Was it done on purpose?
So my idea in this encounter was to put an encounter that, if you had the upper hand, was manageable.
Okay.
But if it was the other way around, if those beastmen would have ambushed you, some players were gonna die. Like that's the way I planned it, right? So even again, just charging in without having a plan like this would have been obviously more difficult. What I'm glad that happened is that you noticed it just by looking at it. You were like, okay, we might be in trouble even if we have the upper hand, right?
Well, I'm not sure we noticed necessarily that these things were stronger and they could kill us. It was more, there's a high probability that they kill those people.
Yeah, okay.
So if we want to save those people who were going to be murdered in a ritual, we need to get our stuff together. Like, if we just charge in and don't have any viable distraction, they're going to kill them.
Yeah. Some of them might hold a line and the other one will execute the other one, and we failed at this point.
Yeah.
Even if we survive and kill them, all of them. Yeah.
Achieving success, in our mind, was saving the hostages.
Yeah.
And the only way for us to do that was to have actual strategy.
Yeah, and I remember when I built, now that we talk about it, I remember that when I built this thing, I was like, there's no way they're going to save them. And just caveat to that, maybe like we need to talk about the fact that at this point, I didn't know that Otis was going to be there.
That's true. It's worth talking about.
So because I've been saying like they would have been dead. Like Otis was not on the line of just dying off scene.
Yeah. I think this might be a good segue into the next topic and the last topic for this behind the GM screen. It is basically to have full disclosure with you guys, with the listeners, that this great reveal that we had happen actually didn't happen at this point in time.
What happened is they finished their combat. They looked at the door, seeing that's the location they actually were headed towards with the stars and everything. There's a coin. They need to go in there, but they don't know how. There's a hole in the middle, and we'll go through that in the next.
And at that point, Randall was on the other side of the river. He had just seen the big beastman run away, so he was the one that went to go and take off the sacks on the faces of everybody. But before actually doing that, Chris just said, let's stop here. This is a good moment. There's some mystery. Let's end it here.
Yeah, and I knew that having to like establish those NPCs at this point were supposed to be NPCs. We were gonna stop for how many months? Like 6 months?
A while, yeah, or maybe not that long. But one of our players was going on a long trip, and he wanted to be, he wanted to be still part of the story. Vince, he was in one of our videos actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I said, might as well not have this interaction now. We'll start with this interaction. It's going to propel us with role play, and it's going to be a good start, and not just be in front of a door. So that's why we stopped there, and the reveal happened that time.
Just to be clear, we're going to keep making videos. We're not stopping.
Yeah.
This has happened several years, like 2-3 years ago. Like after the game was done, we had a conversation all together as players with Chris and said, hey, why don't we do a B campaign? That way, Ludolf, despite Ludolf not being there, we can still play, and the player who plays Ludolf won't miss anything. And then we had the idea, we kept digging, and we said, whoa, what if we play the NPCs that get captured? How cool would that be? And then that's where the next season is going to start off.
Yeah, and I built next season for it to be like the events that the players saw the effect of but weren't really part of. So just a sneak peek. The first one is actually the assault on Middenheim, as the players were in the other village. when they arrive, I don't know if you remember, but when they arrive, they see the destruction of a battle. Well, we're gonna start next one in this battle, and we'll basically go through everything that those group of Ulricans go through until that point where they are saved by our heroes.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool, and I think we could probably shoot a whole video about doing these kinds of cool time lapses. It might be a conversation for another time, and if it's something you guys would like to see, please comment below. You can also reach out to us. You can do so by contacting us on Twitter. Our handle is @roll_play_chat.
Or we have an email, which is contact@roleplaychat@gmail.com.
And thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this first season of the Blood and Betrayal. So I think that is everything for this season of the Blood and Betrayal campaign, Chris.
That's all, Matt.
Let's call it a chat.